Okay, I think we're live, my friends. Let's go check something out here. Ta-da! What's happening out there, my friends? Yours truly, Mark and Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, and all that good stuff. Before I get started, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and supporting the channel and everything. Really do appreciate it, guys. And yeah, we got rained out on Monday's gig. It wasn't so bad us pushing the gear back. And I had to test the pedals anyways, so make sure that they're working because it did get a little bit wet. And although, you know, we pushed the pedals back underneath the canopy, wasn't really too bad, but it did get like soaked around the area. And especially where the outlet was on the wall and the extension cord coming to where we were at, it was really starting to get soaked. So yeah, we had to call it a little bit early on Monday. But I do appreciate all you guys' support and everything. It really does mean a lot. And before I get into tonight's featured topic, I want to address something that I will be putting up in some upcoming videos, probably live streams. For those of you out there who are recovering from injuries, whether it be a slip or fall, a sporting injury that happens to be, you know, coming back as we were aging, or you're recovering from a stroke or anything of that nature, and you think your playing is done with. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You might not be able to play the way you once were able to, or once wanted to, but as long as you're making music and you're having fun, my suggestion would be stay in the game. And before I do, I could see some of the chat now. I want to thank everyone tuning in. John, thank you so much for tuning in. I have to do this, guys, so I could see who's who. Sorry about that. Oh, Monster, thank you, my friends. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And, oh, you're in a band. Great for you, man. Hey, playing in a band is a lot of fun because you actually got ideas to bounce off of each other, you know? And before I done any of this solo stuff, I've been in a lot of bands. That's, you know, the era I come from. But what I was going to say, for people who have issues playing and they got limited abilities, if you have one finger that's available, just one, no matter which one it is, if you could do something like this. It's all on one string. Something similar to that. See, I'm not going to go into much detail in this video. I'm going to do that in other videos. That's going to be very detail oriented with this guitar and probably the nylon string. The reason I'm saying this is because even though it's not shredding, it's musical. You're making music. And I have a good friend out there that, you know, he's going to send me his guitar, and I kind of hope he doesn't. I hope he keeps it because I want to make this specifically for him, but also for anybody out there that's going through this. You know, the reason I'm saying, if you could keep the guitar that you like to play, and you're having issues playing, rest, go through therapy, whatever it is you need to do, physical therapy, get your stuff all together there. before you start selling things. Now, if you have to sell them for purposes of paying, paying bills, and I understand. But if it's just a situation where you're looking at the guitar and it's like, I can't do this anymore, it's over, and then you get rid of it, and later on, you know what? You saw something that inspired you, and you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of it. Maybe it's not over. The whole idea is to sound good and have fun with it. That above and beyond anything, that's the whole idea. And with that, you'll be able to inspire other people to keep going. And it doesn't have to be, don't stay away from negative videos that's going to try to put you down, first of all. Stay away from all of that. Look at what you are able to do with what you have. You might have videos of you playing your heart out, and now all of a sudden you can't. It's tough. Trust me, I understand. But if you could make music even with one finger, you're still in the game. Now I'm going to see who else is tuning in. I'm sorry about this, guys. Hey, what is happening, my friends? Liverperia. I hope I'm not mispronouncing. Yeah, Playtime. Hey, thank you, my friend. Yeah, Gilmore is great. David Gilmour is very musical. Him, Carlos Santana. There's a lot of other people out there that are extremely musical, and that's the whole point. That right there is the whole point. And their music is going to stand the test of time, which is something that I want to talk about with the guitar standing the test of time. What's going on with this? Okay. Oh, before I get into that, this intro was created with the Roland GR55 guitar synth. That's why I got the pickup on here. I don't have the synth hooked up right now, but that's one of the patches that I was able to create, for intros and things of that nature. Great little pedal there, Okay, so I've seen these videos pop up that are talking about, guitar sales are down and what's going on with the music, and does it seem our era, our generation is starting to fade away and things of that nature? Well, in part, yeah, but it doesn't mean it's got to go completely away. It's nice to have the cover bands out there and the tribute bands out there, keeping the generation alive. But before I get into the whole age thing, one guy was talking about the sales of used instruments, kind of floundering, new instruments, everything's floundering. My educated guess is, now that the economy is slowly but surely starting to pick up, people will start to remember, they're coming out of I call it a recession. And when you don't have that much money, you saw money dwindling, every penny counts. So now that money's starting to come back, every penny counts, and people could be a little bit more cautious of spending their money on anything, guitars or whatever it is. And that kind of contributes to a slowdown, because, no one's buying, because they're afraid, geez, how long is this going to last? And I better keep the money I'm making now. I better put it away for a rainy day, because we all know what it's like going through a rainy day, right? So that could be one of the reasons of the decline in sales, from what I've seen on this guy's video. Everything's floundering. But the other issue that I think's going on is the uninterest of playing guitar. And the reason why I'm saying this, and the reason why I feel I got pretty good credibility to talk on this subject, is, number one, I'm out there playing, and I'm out there right into with the public, older generation, and definitely with a younger generation. And at the same time, my driving gig, I deal with kids in charter schools, kids, elementary, middle school, high school age kids, and I'm seeing their point of view, and not just for the schools. Actually, one summer, but almost 2 years ago, I was doing this charter, and It was for a youth center, and one of the girls, as a counselor, she just graduated high school. Now she's going to college, so she's as one of the counselors with one of the groups of kids on the bus there, and we're passing by this one restaurant, and they had live music out there, and of course it's somebody that's old, my age. I'm 62, and the girl, she's like in her early 20s, and she says to the other counselor, "Look, she this literally she says, look at this. This is embarrassing. Look at these people out there. They're all drunk out there, and they're trying to like they're younger and like they're teenagers again." And what I looked and I saw, and what she was saying, she wasn't wrong in her statement. She said it was an embarrassment. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a good time. There's nothing wrong with, I don't drink at all. The kids are our future, and I agree 1000%. I was about to say that, John. I'm glad you're saying this, because that is the reality. This is the stone cold reality. They're the ones that's going to determine if they're going to learn to play or not. Here's the reality. Our generation is not only getting older, we're starting to die off. Look at, just last summer we lost Ozzy Osbourne, we lost Ace Frehley from Kiss, and a few years before that we lost Eddie Van Halen. That's just to name a few. Before that we lost Ronnie James Dio. The point is that it is starting to happen. What has happened? What's happening to us now in our genre of music, whether it's rock and metal? I'm gonna touch on this subject here. And the shred guitar and the interest in the guitar. What we're seeing is what happened to the big band jazz era of the 40s and going into the 1950s, where rock and roll was coming in, and rock and roll was getting popular. And what was happening was that slowly but surely, jazz was starting to fade away, and rock and roll was taking over. Now it's kind of like the other way around. There is kind of in a way, there is a rebirth with jazz and bebop jazz through hip hop and rap and stuff like that. All that music is borrowed from jazz elements. So now it's coming back, and it's knocking rock and heavy metal to the wayside. It's not going to go away, because there's always going to be a following through rock and metal. Because one thing with metal and rock music is that it's high energized. It will get used in movies, video games, sporting events, because of its energy, that's a great thing. Okay, that's a great thing. The only style that doesn't seem to get really affected, and I'm glad of this, is classical guitar. If you go on YouTube and you just type in classical guitar, you'll start to see all these videos pop up through like Sikas Guitars in Germany, which is a music store that will do in-house concerts. And you'll see all the high-end classical guitars surrounded on the walls in glass cases. And what you'll notice is there is a lot of young folks, especially a lot of young girls, early 20s, teens. There's a youth division, and their playing is flawless. It's absolutely flawless, man. I mean, you cannot AI this, or if they do, they're not gonna nail it. They're not gonna nail that human element of it, because that's just how it is. The finesse of playing classical guitar. But other than that, what I'm seeing is that these kids cannot relate to the guitar, because in their mind, if they go to a restaurant, especially down here in Florida, they'll see an old guy playing acoustic guitar, and I'm not knocking it. God bless all of us old guys out there and the old girls out there, keeping it going. But I'm only saying what these kids are seeing and what they say. that's what Grandpa does. And they'll say, that's kind of cute, you know, that they're continuing on. But that's not for us. Now, that's one element that they see. Here comes the other element. They're not hearing the guitar and the music that they're listening to. If it isn't country music, and the only way they're going to really hear guitar playing at its, you know, at an extreme level in country, because you got a lot of good country pickers out there, is if the song is actually spotlighting the guitar. But usually it's not. You have to go to a concert or watch a concert on YouTube or something to actually see that. Other than that, if it's just on Spotify, whatever's trending, if it's a country song, it's going to be a song with vocals. And the guitar's in the background. So they're going to focus on the vocals more than the guitar. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. At least the guitar is being exposed. Some of the pop songs, same thing. Unless they're seeking out metal, you notice that they're not really pushing metal. This one, I'll tell you, this is the good thing, the catch-22, and on the good side of the catch-22 with YouTube and social media, is that kids could see things both present and the past of all kinds of playing. Whereas mainstream, you very seldom would see a flamenco guitar player play, unless way back in the 70s and the early 80s, when they would have like the music awards. They would spotlight jazz. They even spotlighted classical guitar. I saw, remember, on one program award, they had classical guitarist Christopher Parkini, and I thought that was great. But not so much now, and you know, and within the 90s and of course into the 2000s, you know, that's all gone as far as mainstream. But other than social media and YouTube, when it comes to just like mainstream, you're not going to hear metal so much. You might hear part of a Metallica song, but you're not going to hear, not like it used to be back in the 80s. But what these kids will hear is a lot of the country, the pop, and a lot of rap and hip hop. And with the rap and hip hop, it's like there's little to absolutely no guitar. And when you have kids that are going through elementary school and into middle school and now into high school, they have all these years wrapped up. If they're listening to that kind of music, no guitar. So there's no interest. You know, what's that old saying, out of sight, out of mind? There's no interest in it. So what happens is, because there's no interest in it, well, why should they go to Guitar Center or the local music store to buy one? They don't have an interest in it. It's not like in the mid-2000s, when the Guitar Hero video game was popular. I was teaching in Illinois, and I had a lot of students, in part because of the Guitar Hero video game. Now, what was happening with that was mom and dad bought the video game for the kids. Oh, this is fun. And it brought mom and dad, mostly dad, but mom as well, back to the good old days when there was concerts, right? And I think Guitar Hero and Rock Band, but the Guitar Hero video game would have, you know, Ozzy Osbourne, Crazy Train, some Iron Maiden, some Guns N' Roses, maybe some Judas Priest, and it was all the rock, and it got the kids interested, and it was cool. And I'll never forget this. So the dad gets the idea, oh, maybe we'll buy, you know, our son or daughter a guitar. Oh, that's cool. They seem to be an interest in it. Okay. And it was actually, you know, dad or mom's way of kind of going back, reliving their youth through their kids. And now, let's say from a guy's point of view, dad's got an excuse. So take the daughter or the son to the Guitar Center. Oh, look at all the guitars. Hey, how do you like that one? That looks cool. Whoa, that does look cool. You know, something like this. Yeah, Dad, let's buy it. Okay, we'll buy it. Not realizing that it's not just for the daughter or the son, but Dad's going to be playing it too, because he's going to relive, you know, part of his youth through that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It brought up sales, you know. But eventually, that fad started to dwindle. And one of the reasons it started to dwindle, I'm not saying this is the reason, but it's one of the reasons, is that When I was teaching some of these kids, and I had, we'll talk. I'm going to bring up a couple subjects with the teenage girls. It was a bigger studio room, and the mom wanted, or the dad wanted to sit in with the daughter. I had no problems with that. No problems at all. And in one case particular, I remember the girl was having fun with Iron Maiden and the Judas Priest, and mom was like, "Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's our music, yeah, you know." And here's what I'm going with this part of this subject about our music versus their music. But be careful of this one. So, mom is having a good time watching her daughter play her. She had a nice Schecter guitar. Yeah, well, that was cool, man. And the daughter had on her iPod, I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was an Avenged Sevenfold song. She also liked Bullet for My Valentine, but Avenged Sevenfold. And there was a particular riff she wanted to learn. As soon as she mentioned Avenged Sevenfold, mom's like, "Oh, that's not music." Okay? So immediately, mom's putting up this barrier between her and her daughter. She cut right through down the center there, not realizing it. So the girl's interested. I figure, okay, yeah, we'll listen to it, figure out a little bit. Here's part of the riff. And she started to do it, and it was actually a really cool technique. And actually, it was borrowed from a lot of the metal that was, from before, in the 80s. All these bands are doing is just, reinventing it and putting their own spin on it. They're coming up with something creative. But because of the eye piercing and everything else, and the goth metal, and, the kind of weirdos and that's the perception. And that's basically the perception that mom was giving her 15-year-old daughter. Okay? So I'm showing her the riff, and I'm kind of going over the riff, and she's going over it, and it's, like you learn anything new, it happens to be a little bit tough, right? And I told her, "You'll get it. It's just practice." So as I'm telling her this, the mom leans over to her. "Now you see," I forget the girl's name, "you listen to your teacher, because see, he knows what he's talking about. You make sure you listen." She starts to roll, the girl starts rolling her eyes. She knows what she has to do. And I understand mom wants to be as involved as possible. I have no problems with that. Here is where the separation starts. The kids out there need to understand that mom and dad, they're only looking for your best interest. They want what's best for you, because they really do love you and they really do care. And at the same time, mom and dad, your son and daughter really does love you and care, but they want their own identity. The last thing they want to hear is, "That's not real music. See, you need to play the music that we were playing together. Remember what happened? How come you don't want to learn Iron Maiden?" It starts a separation. Now I know this is kind of an odd way of comparison, but I want you to see what's happening. Okay, that was like in 2008 and 10 and all that. Now it's 2026. There's no more Guitar Hero video game out there, or Rock Band, not that I know of. I don't play video games. I could be wrong. But what I've been seeing over the last 5 years plus is the interest of rap and hip-hop, where there's no guitar. It's absent. And again, out of sight, out of mind. And they start, as we get older, that was almost 2008, that was almost 20 years ago. If you're in your 40s, you're in your 60s. If you're in your 60s, you're in your 80s, and so forth. Right? So now it becomes grandpa. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm like grandpa's age. But you have to understand what's happening with these kids' minds, what they're seeing. They're seeing it like disappear. And when they see it disappear, or we're seeing it disappear, and they're not seeing it at present. And therefore, there's no interest for them to want to go to Guitar Center or the local music store and buy a guitar. It's not there. Or they go with Dad, "Yeah, that's cool. Dad wants, but Dad, can we go to the video game? Dad, can we go to the store? Can we go to McDonald's, Dad?" It's going to be something like that. Now, if you were to do If a store were to open up, let's say right next to Guitar Center, and they were to open up a DJ store that sells DJ gear and PA systems, I bet you on a Saturday could sit in that parking lot and count more people going into the DJ store than into Guitar Center because of what is happening, especially the younger generation. Now, I'm not saying we know that they got a Guitar Center sells DJ gear and PAs like a lot of local music stores do. But what I'm saying is this is in part of why you're seeing a not so much interest in guitar. Therefore, maybe sales are down. I've seen some of these videos pop up, and they're wondering what's going on, and I think they know what's going on, but if this is what they're thinking, what I'm saying, they're right. And the reason why I'm saying they're right is because I talk with these kids. They'll tell me that's what Grandpa does. They have no interest. When I'm downtown Fort Myers playing, or Monday when I'm playing, I get tips. Not just my pay, but I get the tips. Not only from people my generation playing like the smooth jazz and the chill music, but also young kids, college age kids, or they're still seniors in high school. Want to give me a tip? Hey, that sounds good. You don't sound old. Or they'll say, I didn't know you could do that with the guitar. Meaning, I didn't know that this guitar, whether it's this or the Les Paul or whatever, could play in this groove music. Because they haven't heard it. Unless they go on YouTube or their parent starts playing some old 70s disco. Oh, Dave, I don't want to go disco. I know, I understand. But I'm not trying to turn people on to it and make them, you got to quit playing metal and go disco and hip hop and rap and all. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is what's going on. The difference between the disco era and today's era with the dance music, right, is that at that time people were actually playing instruments. If you listen to the soundtrack from Saturday Night Fever, the Bee Gees, Staying Alive, it's all with the guitar. There's even some guitar lead playing in there. The Jacksons, the Jackson 5, they were playing all instruments. Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores, Lionel Richie, all that. They all had guitar in them. When disco was starting to fade, and here, before I even get into this part, even some of the rock bands were starting to incorporate that type of a sound within their sound so they wouldn't die off. Because I do remember when it got to the point where disco was overtaking and rock and guitar music was starting to dwindle down. You had Kiss came out with that song "I Was Made for Loving You," and the bass line is almost like plain octaves, almost with a disco beat to stay relevant. Now you could say they were selling out. I know I said the same thing. I thought the same thing. But now as I look back, they were not only trying to stay relevant, but they were starting to see, hey, we could start to lose not just our style of music, but if more synthesizers come in and all stuff like that, then we could start to lose our interest in our instrument, which that didn't happen back then. Because when the disco era was fading, and as it was fading out, you had, I think, either Lionel Richie, either as a solo artist or with the Commodores, had that one song, Easy Like Sunday Morning, with the guitar solo in it. You had Gino Vannelli. He had an album called Brother to Brother, with one part of it with killer guitar solos. And a lot of that music was borrowed from the jazz fusion that was happening in the 70s. Killer playing, man. Killer playing. And then it got very much noticeable and most relevant when Eddie Van Halen recorded the guitar solo on Beat It on the Michael Jackson Thriller album. And then the next album, I think it was Steve Stevens, did a guitar solo. So they were trying to blend the rock guitar with the funky music and the disco and all that to keep the two from killing each other, and at the same time keeping the instrument alive. Because a lot of people that were recording in the disco era, they played guitar too. You know? But see, that was a different time. And what we're seeing now is something that's completely different. Where, again, the guitar is almost fading out. So, you know, through some of the electronic music and some of the stuff I've been experimenting with, because it's very jazz fusion related, I think I'm able to kind of capitalize on it. Now, I'm not saying I'm going all hip hop or anything like that. No. But I'm definitely can have brought in some of those elements into my playing, because number one, I like those rhythms. Like this thing they call chill house music. It's a very repetitive rhythm, but the rhythm sounds cool. We have a couple of friends, DJ Cosmos down here, and some of the stuff he does, I thought, man, it's great. I told Deb when we do the Christmas party, I know exactly what I put in here, because if they're doing like piano patches, they're sampling piano patches, and I'm hearing major and minor seventh chords. Well, I do a lot of that in my jazzy stuff. And I could put the guitar melodies into it with a distorted guitar with a melody in there and things that nature, and it kind of fits. I have another friend, DJ Brian Savage. He wants to do so. Both Cosmos and Savage would like to record some stuff with me. You know, my guitar parts, and, you know, incorporate it in their playing, because I thought it was cool. And, you know, it fits. I know how to make those rhythm fits, because in my mind, I'm hearing a form of jazz fusion. Stuff that I listened to, you know, back in the late 70s and into the 80s, and started to shape my guitar playing, as well as the rock and metal. So, a lot of the stuff here that I got, like these Korg Voca, I know what I could do with them. I just gotta take the time and sit and learn more about them. That's the sample too. This is a Korg FM. It's like, it'll do the sounds of the Yamaha DX7 and my older Boss DR70 drum machine. It's got some cool patterns in there. And I got my little mixer here, and then, you know, we got the bigger recorder up there, which I gotta bust out. But then this little guy right here, the Tascam DP008EX, you know, just to lay down some tracks and things of that nature. And then in combination with the guitar synth, but it doesn't mean that I'm only going with that and completely abandon the guitar sound. I'm setting things up to take my guitar playing, distorted with the funky rhythms, as well as some of the metal rhythms, and combine it. Not like what they had in the 90s, was it the metal rap? Not that. But combined in it where it's going to fit. I feel the best of my ability, it's going to fit. That, you know, that I like. And not everyone's going to like it, and that's okay. Still be my friends. I don't take any of that personal. Not at all. I'm not trying to convert people or anything. I just want people to understand what is in part going on out there. And when I see these videos, I'm thinking, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Because there is part of the solution. In my opinion, it's not, the solution isn't talking down to these kids and trying to make them like what we do. The solution would be, well, that's interesting, instead of cutting them down and saying that's not music. I mean, some of it I understand, because some of it I'm not a big fan of. Okay? But when I was teaching very heavily, I would never say that to these kids, because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I had some of these young girls with the Taylor Swift. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan, but she's very talented. She writes her own music, and she's brilliant when it comes to the fact that she bought her own, she almost lost all her original music through a catalog, so she re-recorded everything, I guess in a different studio with some other musicians, but same things, and re-release them where she has 100% control. Good for you, because that is your music. But what's happening? These kids, they see this separation. Another thing that's these kids, they really have nowhere to go out to see anything live except to a restaurant, and what they're seeing is like something they don't like. When it was the late '90s, early 2000s, we used to do these all ages shows. A lot of places, but one of the main places we would do these shows was at a place called Raleigh's Rock House. It used to be called Malo's in Aurora, Illinois. And we would do these all ages shows on Sundays. And you had kids that were even in high school coming out playing. You're under 21, you could get in. There's no liquor for you. But you could come in. Not only could you watch the bands play, if you have a band, you come out and play. And I remember some of them, they'd have to, well, another place we would play at, Penny Road Pub, which was in South Barrington, on a street literally called Penny Road. We'd play upstairs, and sometimes we'd play downstairs. Sometimes downstairs would be the all ages. And I remember one particular Saturday evening, the band had to go on earlier because they were all underage, and they had to get home. Or maybe it was on a Sunday. I think it was on a Sunday. Yeah, because they had to go to school the next day. They were still in high school. But they came out and they played, and places, they were packed. It's not really like that too much anymore, especially in this area. They have a lot of older people, and I'm not knocking. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not knocking it. But these kids, they feel like there's this huge separation, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse for them. So they'll lose interest, and they'll start to hanging out with their friends that listen to the rap and all this other stuff. They're going to go there. They're going to go in that direction because it's cool. Their friends will listen to it. They want to be in with the in crowd, and then there goes the guitar. So it's kind of an attempt to help bring it into a style that they can relate to. And the reason why, again, I say this, I get these people come up, these young kids come up to me. Again, they're college age, so they're younger than me. I didn't know you could do that with the guitar. That sounds good. Or like, you don't sound old. They can relate to it. And it gives them interest that maybe he's doing it. I wonder if I could do the same thing. What I'm playing is not difficult. So they don't have to worry about trying to, play at 250 BPMs, all 30-second notes. Something that could be almost impossible to do. They don't have to feel like they're going to be, told that they suck or anything like that. See, as soon as you come up with all that negativity, they're going to go away. And when they go away, and as we get older and we start dying off, our instrument could go down that road too. I'm not saying it will, but it could. It could really go even further down because now these kids they don't want no part of it. And that's one of the problems. I'm sorry I got to do it. Speaking of being old, see what I mean? Everything is tiny and little. I like to, yeah, how about it? Hey, what's happening, my friends? Yeah, thank you so kindly, guys. We haven't been, as you know, John, we haven't been back in the Chicagoland area since we got down here. It's been really working out for us down here. Like, big time working out for us, good. But, I will always be a Chicago boy. I was born and raised in Chicago. Grew up by the north side. Down the street from the Piano Man bar, they had the jazz bands play there once in a while. And they're not too far from the blues clubs. And then I go to another place called the Jazz Bulls and see the jazz fusion and just get my mind blown by all the talent and just come home and mimic everything I just saw and heard and be up all night practicing. Now that was on the local level. And you'd see some killer musicians. Then we go see, guys like Al Di Meola and Paco de Lucia and John McLaughlin and Return to Forever, and you'd be like, whoa, this is a whole new level. but you either stood up all night and practiced or you quit. I stayed up all night and practiced. I was so inspired. And then again, the metal circuit, you know, we had a killer metal scene, and going to the concerts at the Rosemont Horizon, we'd spend $15 and see 3 killer bands, you know, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, and there was this one band called Girls School, all girls metal, but they rocked. And it was just, you know, Quiet Riot and Judas Priest, I mean, all these bands. Saw Metallica at the Aragon. It's called the Aragon Ballroom, but we used to call it the Aragon Brawl Room, you know. Saw Metallica just after they'd released Master of Puppets. Saw Yngwie Malmsteen back in 1980, early 85 at the Brawl Room with Billy Sheen. He had his band called Talus. I mean, we've seen a lot of great stuff, man. So we're from that era. It'll never go away. And as fun as it is reminiscing about it, and believe me, I reminisce about it, the fact of the matter is those days are gone. And they're great, great, great memories, and thank God a lot of them is on YouTube to help keep it alive. Don't want it to completely die or anything like that. But these kids, very few of them, very, very few of them, relate to the metal of back in the day. And even the metal of the 2000s, you know. They're getting more and more drawn to a style of music. Again, like I said, have no guitar. So it's maybe this is an open doorway for me to kind of capitalize on something without, you know, wearing stuff that's just not for me, you know. I'm not going to try to pretend I'm those people because I'm not. I'm me. But those rhythms are cool. I think some of them really are cool, and I hear what I could do with them. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to quit playing metal. I haven't done anything metal for a while, because I want to get back into it. But I'm also working on another classical guitar CD, especially for a friend of mine. I love all these styles of music. A good guitar playing for me is good guitar playing, good music, or good music where I could put a guitar part to it is to me, it's good. And whether I succeed or fail, it doesn't really matter too much as I look at the bigger picture, because someone's going to like it and they're going to hear the guitar. Especially if I take these rhythms as I'm doing them all instrumental. Now the voice is going to be the guitar. The melody is going to be the guitar. The backdrop might be all this other stuff, but the focal point will be the guitar. And learning to blend it, you know. And again, for people out there, you know, don't think that I'm not going to be your friend because you're going to, hey, Dave, I hate that. I don't like that style that you're playing. It's okay. You're 100% welcome to have your opinion, you know. You don't have to like it. You still be my friend. It doesn't matter. I kind of like those rhythms. And I'm seeing an opportunity here that this could help benefit that as well. And because, like I said, I deal with the kids not only with the driving job, but, you know, when I'm out there playing. And it is it's a very eye-opening thing to experience, because I could see it in their face. They're like, oh my God, I didn't know that you could make the guitar blend with this kind of music. Especially these college kids, you know, they're into this chill music. And again, to me, it's like smooth jazz, laid back, relaxing, you know. That's what I hear. To me, I call it like smooth jazz fusion, okay? It could be mellow, but there's still guitar in it. Not in all of it, but, you know, the guitar does play a dominating role in a lot of this stuff. When I hear DJ Cosmos or Brian Savage play their house music, it's the same beat. A lot of it's just like a looped, and they're just doing all this really sound effects. So it's kind of cool because it fits the beat. I did see a video where a guy was saying, the only problem with this is that it's the same rhythm. We're not taking it anywhere, because I think what it is, if they don't play an instrument, they get on, was it Ableton, and they patch stuff, and that takes a lot of work to do. They're piecing things together, but not everybody, my friends, not everybody, but for the ones who don't play the instrument, they don't understand what it is that is making everything sound so repetitive. There's no break, there's no bridge, there's no different parts. They might know as there's no different parts. They don't know what it's called. And they don't know how do I transition into it. But that won't take long for them to figure it out, because with everything on YouTube and everything, being exposed, they'll figure it out. But the advantage I have is that I could do it at real time and just record it and say, well, there it is, boom. And then it sparks the interest. And I'm not telling people to go that route. Don't get me wrong here. But what I am saying is that this is part of the reason why we're seeing the slippage in the interest of the guitar. So for the people out there that have music stores, and I'm sure you understand that. Because if you got a music store that's been around for a while, you got a brain. You know what I mean? You know it. You see it. And if you're giving teach lessons, you see the shift of the interest in the styles of music. The School of Rock, maybe they could try to add more harder rock elements. I think that'd be cool, because I had one student say to me that used to ride with me, a high school student, and she didn't want to go. At first she thought it'd be cool going to School of Rock, but she doesn't like the Beatles, and they're like jamming Beatles down her throat. She doesn't like that. She likes Pantera, and she likes that kind of music, And I understand there's criterias, and there is, well, first you learn this, and then we can get to that. There's a way to advance. But the reality is, when you're going to play chords that are more, let's get a little bit of volume here, like here, like this. I might have to stroke turn this a little more, guys. These are full bar chords. They're going to be more challenging to play. But you do something like this. It's a lot easier to play that than a full chord. So, and it sounds cool. Not saying the other stuff doesn't. But the point is, that turned her off to want to go to the School of Rock. Now, I'm not saying all of them are like that, so this is not to put School of Rock down. Do not misunderstand that statement. But this is what happens. When you jam something down someone's throat, and you could see that they have the ability to go into a different direction. They have the ability, if you as a teacher or a school have that ability to say, take that kid on and say, hey, but let's do some private lessons here. Let's nurture this and watch it grow. And then maybe you could be like an advanced level that we could prep you to help be like a teacher's aide and getting other kids involved in this. Because since you have your friends that don't want to hear the Beatles, but they want to hear this, and now you have the ability to play it, now you have also the ability to teach it, we're going to have you come in and help bring that crowd in. One of the sessions we sat in on, this guy, I'm not going to name his name, he was a good guy, and he had good intentions. He wanted to open up a rehearsal building that was like a music studio that would have lessons, rehearsals. Like back in the day, you'd rent the room out for 3 hours or by the hour, and that was your personal space. Your band could practice there. And then another part of the building would have 2 different stages, a bigger stage and a smaller stage, and have music and performance 7 days a week. Nice idea. Real nice idea. When Deb and I went to the conference, and we were broken into different groups. So the group I went in with was, I think it was like 4 or 5 of us. I'm sitting there listening to them talk. And they kept saying the same thing. rehearsal studio, bands playing, concerts, bands. Because I'm looking at this from a different angle because of where I was teaching. I had students that also were involved in dance and theater. And at the school I was at, there was a bigger room that would get rented out once in a while for these kids to rehearse and or put on these recitals, dance recitals, and little plays. So I said to the guy, I go, hey, so what happens if you have a real slow season? You know, well, I don't think we'll have that. Okay, but what happens if? Are you prepared for this? If this happens, you got to think like this, because when it happens, then it's a big surprise and it's doom and gloom. Okay, so I said, so what is your solution when, you know, so and so from this band loses a job and then they can't afford to pay the rent anymore, and they're putting all the responsibility on the other band members, and yet they got families to support, so then they can't afford it, and then now you lose a whole band renting out that space, and also so can't make this rehearsal, or they can't do this show, and you start to see income going down. What's your solution? He did not have an answer. Excuse me. He did not have an answer. I said, okay, here's where I'm at, and this is what I see. I have guitar students that are involved in dance and theater. So the advantage of opening up to dance and theater is that, and as soon as I said this, the girl sitting across from me, the girl, and I guess it was her friend, they both said, I don't want to watch some 8-year-old hack up a dance or a dance routine or a play. I don't want to watch that. So you don't have to watch. I understand what you're saying, but the point you're missing is that even if they do hack it up, when kids are involved and kids come out to do a play, guess who comes out? Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, Aunt Joe and Aunt Betty, or Uncle Joe and Aunt Betty, and everyone comes out. And if you're charging $5 a head, the more numbers of family members coming out, the more dollars are coming in. Well, I still don't want to see a 8-year-old hack something up. It's your choice. You do what you want. I'm just telling you from where I'm at, what I'm seeing. And this guy is making money. Whether it's with the guitar or the kid hacking up a dance routine. Money's coming in. After I made that point, the girl leans over to me. I guess I could understand your point, because I thought she said she has a daughter that's involved in dance. I'm thinking, well, if you have a daughter involved in dance, you mean you can't see this? This guy is good. He's borrowing money from investors, and when you borrow money from investors, they want their money. They want the return on their investment. So to help him stay afloat and think about this when times get tough, because whatever money he's going to borrow, it's going to take a long time to pay that off. Because it sounds like you're going to get a building built. You know what that costs, right? So, long story short, I guess the thing dwindled down, and him and his wife moved to Boston. And they're doing something else. The point is that if you deny what's happening in front of you, and you think, well, they're just kids, they don't know. I've been playing for 50 years. I've been playing for 50 plus years. I know what I know, but that doesn't make me better than what's coming up, because what's coming up could be pushing me out. And these music stores and these videos I've been seeing, I sympathize with you guys, and I understand where you're coming from, especially if you got the store. It's tough. It's tough. It's tougher than, I don't have the store. You do. Deb and I were going to open up a music store. I think it was going to be 2010 or something like that. Kick-Axe guitars. We had an attorney and everything. We were going to patent the name, everything. And then we started noticing what's happening. And we're glad that we didn't open it up, because we could have lost our investment. It could put us in a hole. So, for people that are suffering, now could be a time that you could start to say, hey, you know what? Let's sit down with these kids, find their interests, see how we could accommodate them, because they are going to be the future. I'm not saying get rid of your dedicated customers or anything like that. Not saying that. Don't. What I'm saying is, we're getting older. We're dying off. If nothing is coming behind us, guess what could also die off? It could go in a long period of dormant. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just looking at things as I really see them. And as I listen to these kids talk, and as I see what's happening out there. I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know everything. But what I'm saying is what I'm seeing. And I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But it is something to kind of consider. I guess in closing here, it's a matter of making that connection with the next generation. Now, how you could, if people are just playing metal and they want to keep that going, I love it, it's great, then you could find ways that it could be appealing to youth, because metal music is very high energy. Maybe you could find if you got a band, metal band, see if you could get play like classic car shows. And see, I gotta go on a little sidetrack here. You could be a killer musician, and you could even have a band that has a following. But if you go up against somebody that's bullheaded and doesn't like you for whatever reason, hey, they're not going to hire you. They'll hire their friend, right? But they won't hire you. That's what's going on out there. That's another thing that's going on out there. Call them the gatekeepers, you know. But now, putting that aside, if you want to start to pursue these type of events, even if it's at a farmer's market, and just make sure that you're not too loud and obnoxious, because that's the stereotype of metal, and that's not always the case, and we know that. There's great musicianship, and there's a lot of very highly intelligent people that are playing metal, and we know that. Skilled musicianships. One of the bands that was very popular in the local scene back in the 80s was a band called Paradox. And I found out later on, well, actually in the late 90s, that the guitar player, I think his name was John Dobbs, he worked in the HVAC industry. And he was a very smart guy. And when he was at one of the conventions we were at, and when you sit and you talk with him, man, it's like he's very, very kind, very polite, very accommodating, very professional. Another person that's very famous was KK Downing from Judas Priest. I saw this one video. He doesn't have it anymore, but this was, could be about 15 years ago. It was a business program I saw. And the guy that was hosting it had this guy with long hair sitting in a chair with a suit and tie. And I'm like, that guy looks familiar. And the guy interviewed him and introduced him as Kenneth K. Downing. It was KK Downing from Judas Priest. And the guy was KK Downing, and he opened up a golf clubhouse to go golfing. And he was very successful. And he liked it. So these are not stupid people. So I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. So one way to keep it going is maybe try to get involved in the classic car shows. Classic car shows and rock music, they go hand in hand because it's revved up, it's powerful, and here comes the kids checking out the cool cars, and they hear the music that fits the engine, or like the bike night, or what was it, just do Motorcycle Sunday at the Warehouse Church. Any type of event like that where the two styles, they fit perfect, kids come out like, oh, that's kind of cool, man. It could kind of spark their interest. If you do something at a farmer's market, you know, it should be hit or miss, but you might still be able to relate to some of these kids. At least they're going to be exposed. Because what's happening to them is that they don't see anything. They're not being as exposed to it. You will still get some of them say, yeah, but that's dad's band. That's a dad band, or that's a grandpa band. But if you do it in a way that's appealing to them, not putting them down, not looking down at them, making them feel like they're being insulted. I'm not saying cater to them, let them get away with anything. What I'm saying is, don't put up this barrier that's, your side, my side, because they will continue to have that wall up, and you're grandpa and you're not cool anymore. And that's a hard reality. It's a hard thing to face, but it's something I've definitely noticed. So a way, if you could just appeal to them, boom, it could help. It really could help. And if you're going to teach, don't insult these kids. Don't insult anybody. We want to joke and kid around is one thing, but then when you start to see that they're getting a little bit offended, be careful, because boom, you can lose a customer right there. Real simple. And try to make it as accommodating as possible, providing that they want to put the time into it. There's got to be effort. But if you're able to do something like that, then it could help bring these kids more and more back into it. All you got to do is take a look around. When's the last time you walked down the street and you heard a band rehearsing? Remember back in our days, it was all over. We used to rent out warehouse buildings, rooms, monthly rooms. Don't have that anymore. So it's just a matter. It's just something to think about, guys. I'm not trying to jam things down people's throats, but when I see these videos, I'm like, I wonder if they're thinking about this. I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But it is part of it's not the solution, but I think it's a big part of one, because let's see, how many music stores? There's a music store in Tampa, Relay Music. I think they closed. There's one music store in England. I forget what it was called, TMC or something like that. They closed. There's a few other ones. Look at Sam Ash. Sam Ash was around way before Guitar Center. Sam Ash had a really good thing going too, because they had performances in-house performances. They're gone, but now they're trying to make a comeback through online sales, so to save money on the brick and mortar building, because that's very expensive. So, and I think there's also been a slowdown in manufacturing. I could be wrong. I'm not in retail. I don't know. All I know is what I'm seeing, and it could. And I'm trying to take educated guesses. You have a lack of interest in the guitar. You got a music store that's got filled with guitars, plus returns, used guitars, not just from the good old days, but also from the COVID. People got the money, they thought it'd be cool to sit down and play, and then figure their fingers are hurt, and now they don't want to play. There goes the guitar, back over to the music. So now it's a used item. To get the ball rolling again, it's I think part of it would be opening up to the interests of what these kids are interested in, and try to make it blend. Try to find a way to blend the two. And then it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot, so we don't go extinct like the dinosaurs, right? Okay, my friends, I hope this helps. Again, I could be wrong. If you want to leave in the comments, thank you for tuning in. I was listening to some of your songs on the web. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's some more stuff. I got some more work I got to do, and it's just a matter of finding the time and the energy too. But I got things I'm working on. Right now, I'm working on in the mind and also doing the experiment. They call it the research and development, right? Anyways, guys, we will be going live Friday if we don't get rained out. We're supposed to be downtown, Fort Myers Art Walk. We do have a private show on Saturday, celebration of life for a young lady that lost her mom. I don't think we could stream that one because it's private. But oh, you're welcome, John. John, thank you for tuning in. You know what? You're always welcome, brother. You really are. You're a great guy, man. We love you all. And you're a great guy, John. And we hope all is well with you and hoping that you're feeling better. And Dale, what's happening? Is that Dale? Yeah, that is. I appreciate you so much, Dale. You know, all you guys, I appreciate all you guys out there. You know, you guys have helped this channel so much. And, you know, there are times you don't come on. That's okay because I don't watch everything out there either. I don't watch everything I even do. It's okay. You're all my friends. I appreciate you a lot, so much. And I'm glad that we're able to connect in this way. What I am going to try to do, I got to make sure my time is open up to do this, is maybe, if it's not a weekly, maybe other week, live stream on helping people to play, even if they have heart issues, arthritis, or whatever they're recovering from, so they don't have to, you know, give it up altogether. You know, they'll have the feeling they really do want to play. They just get frustrated. As long as you're sounding good, you're making music, and I'll put something up that's going to be playable, but yet musical, you know? It doesn't have to be shredding all the time, virtuoso all the time. It's fun, but it runs its course, trust me. After a while, it's like, I just want to sound good, you know? I don't want to be burning myself out 24/7, you know? So I'll keep everyone posted on that. But so far, we will be going live Friday. I think it's, what, 5 to 9? It'll be more than the 6 o'clock hour. And then we'll just see what we get through without getting rained out. I'll keep you guys posted. But guys, thank you so much. We love you all. Until then, have a great evening. Stay strong, safe, and true. Rock on, and God bless. Thank you for tuning in. Dale, stay in the game if you can, brother. God bless you now.